morning and welcome to News at 10 on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Well, with March quarter GDP ending at 7.9%, India is now the fastest growing economy in the world. That is the big feel-good story that we'll be tracking. We also look closely at Iraqi army's offensive in Fallujah. Now, Islamic State group has hit back, giving tough fight. We'll get you all the updates on that as well. Let us begin with the headlines. Vice President Mohammed Hamid Ansari jointly launches India-Morocco Chamber of Commerce and Industry with Moroccan Prime Minister, says it is the need of the hour in a globalized world. Sushma Swaraj assures Africans in India of their security, however says killing of Congolese youth not a racial crime. Congress criticizes Prime Minister, says his silence on the matter embarrassing. India cements position as world's fastest growing major economy. GDP for fourth quarter of 2015-16 accelerates to 7.9%. Petrol and diesel prices hiked for a second time in a month. Petrol up by 2.58 rupees per litre and diesel by 2.26 rupees per litre. 0.5% Krishi Kalyan cess comes into effect from today. And Islamic State launches counter-attack as Iraqi government troops push into Fallujah. Concerns rise over the safety of over 50,000 civilians there. Well, India and Morocco have jointly launched the India-Morocco Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The inauguration was done jointly by Vice President Hamid Ansari and Morocco's Prime Minister. On Tuesday, the two countries signed two new MOUs in a bid to strengthen bilateral ties.
Vice President Hamid Ansari and Moroccan Prime Minister Abdelillah Benkirane jointly launching the India-Morocco Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Rabat on Tuesday. On the occasion, the Vice President said that it was a discovery for him that such a chamber did not exist. He added that it is the need of the hour in a globalized world.
Without chambers of commerce, we did trade. But the world is changing. And in the world of today and tomorrow, a globalized world, much greater interaction. We do need bodies like chambers of commerce, which are repositories of information.
Bilateral trade between the two countries stood at $1.26 billion in 2015, with Indian exports forming roughly 25% of the trade volume. Morocco has emerged as a favoured destination for investment by Indian firms. A cumulative investment of more than $320 million has been made by these firms, including in the flagship project, the Indo-Morocco Phosphor SA joint venture.
We trade, certainly, modestly, but capacities are changing, and therefore the capacities to trade are changing. And this is where the focus of the Chamber of Commerce should be on both sides.
India and Morocco signed two MOUs on cultural cooperation and institutional training for foreign service officers in the presence of Vice President Mohammed Hamid Ansari. Three other MOUs relating to water resource, television broadcasting and education were also finalized between the two countries. Both sides also stressed on the need for injecting fresh momentum into their bilateral relations by improving issues of economic and political stability and human resources development.
We look at Morocco as a trusted partner across a range of issues. We appreciate Morocco's support for India's candidature to expanded United Nations Security Council.
They are very keen that Indian businesses use Morocco as a platform for access to both European and American markets, with which they have preferential and free trade agreements. So they have easy access for their products, but also more importantly for the West African market.
On Tuesday, the Vice President also paid homage to Morocco's King Mohammed V. He later met the Speaker of the country's lower house of Parliament, Abdel Hakim Ben Khemas.
Launching a platform for business and trade between India and Morocco was the need of hour. Although India may not be a competitor to China, but surely this road may lead to competition in future. With video journalist Kawaljeet and my colleague Vishal Kumar Jain, Anu Diwan from Morocco for Rajya Sabha TV.
In fact, my colleague Anu Diwan is joining us on the phone line from Rabat in Morocco. Anu, now important developments in the bilateral relations between the two nations, the two industries jointly launching the India-Morocco Chamber of Commerce and Industry, also signing 2 MOUs. How significant are these developments going to be?
Definitely, Aishwarya, these developments are really significant for India, as Vice President has said that these fields will also cover will also cover water resource, television broadcasting, institutional corporations, educational exchanges, which are beneficial for both the nations. Mr. Ansari, Honorable Vice President, also said that India was very happy after signing these agreements, as these will lead to a major development for people in India as well as in Morocco. So we exactly like Moroccan diplomats will come to India, while Indian foreign services will be also visiting Morocco from the same period. So these all will lead to a major development, which was especially the need of oil for the two nations.
Right. Anu, May this year, India, in fact, Morocco and China had also signed 15 bilateral agreements in various sectors. Considering that India's probably relationship with Morocco is not as much close as it seems that Morocco and China have. So how do you look at that?
Definitely, the relations between India and China are not the same as between Morocco with China, but definitely these new developments will give a positive response to both the nations. As the tourist inflow has been increasing since years. So lately, it was reported that about 20,000 tourists have visited. India has briefed that about 5,000 visas for Morocco were given. So these all things will definitely lead and give a competition in future to China as well. Although Vice President has made it clear that China is not a competitor to India, as it leads a different path, a different road for the nation.
All right, Anu, thank you so much for those details there. Moving on to some other news. Now, India has assured African nationals staying in the country that their security will not be compromised. Now, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj met a delegation comprising African envoys and students on Tuesday and assured a speedy trial in a case relating to the death of a Congolese youth in the national capital. The opposition, however, is now training its guns on the Prime Minister over his silence against the rising cases of alleged racial attacks on the African community.
External Affairs Minister, along with Junior Minister V.K. Singh, Foreign Secretary S. Jaishankar and other senior officials met a group of African envoys and students on Tuesday. At the meeting, students raised concerns over safety and security following a string of attacks on people from the community and the killing of a Congolese youth. Sushma Swaraj assured the delegation that the government was committed to a fast-track trial in the case of the killing and will give the harshest possible punishment to the culprits. She, however, said that the barbaric killing was not a racial crime.
ये रेशियल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन का मामला नहीं है, ये नस्ल भेद का केस नहीं है, क्योंकि सीसीटीवी फुटेज में बहुत साफ ये नजर आ रहा है कि जो स्थानीय भारतीय लोग थे उन्होंने उस बच्चे को बचाने की भरपूर कोशिश की, लेकिन जो गुंडे उसे मार रहे थे उन गुंडों ने उन लोगों को भी मारा जो उनको बचा रहे थे.
Meanwhile, 3 more persons have been arrested in connection with the cases of assault on African nationals which took place in South Delhi's Mehroli area last week, leaving at least 6 people injured. The series of incidents of attacks prompted the Delhi police to appoint a joint commissioner rank official as a nodal officer for attending to issues concerning people from African nations living in the city and launch an exclusive helpline for the same. A sensitization program has also been launched.
एक तरफ हम भारत अफ्रीका फोरम करते हैं 54 देशों को बुलाकर, इतनी गुडविल हमारी बनती है, लेकिन इस तरह की एक घटना की आधार पे पानी डाल देती है. तो इस तरह की घटनाएं हम स्वीकार नहीं करेंगे. ये हमारा पहला प्रोग्राम है स्टूडेंट्स के साथ मीटिंग का. दूसरा प्रोग्राम जिसकी शुरुआत हमने दिल्ली में कर दी है, हम बाकी स्टेट्स को भी परामर्शी एक एडवाइजरी भेज रहे हैं कि वो भी ये करें कि हम हर उस एरिया में जहां अफ्रीकी ज़्यादा रहते हैं उसको सेंसिटाइज करेंगे, वहाँ एक जन जागरण करेंगे, ऐसी घटनाएं ना हो इसकी कोशिश करेंगे। तो एक बहुत बड़ी कार्य योजना हमने बनाई है और इसके साथ साथ मैं ये भी चाहती हूँ कि हम कोई ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूशनल मैकेनिज्म, ऐसी कोई व्यवस्था खड़ी कर दें जिसके कारण ये घटनाएं हो ही नहीं।
The opposition Congress, however, came down hard on the government, saying that the incidents have racial overtones and that the PM's silence over the matter has become embarrassing.
It has affected India's image globally. The President of the Republic has spoken. The Vice President, Shri Hamid Ansari, has spoken. Prime Minister is silent. His silence is embarrassing now.
The centre, however, reiterated that the security of African students in the country is a responsibility it will fulfill.
It is the responsibility of the government to take care of all these students, which the government, I'm sure, is committed to do.
Do you think there is a need for the awareness, generation of the awareness also?
It is a multi-pronged approach, but certainly all the students deserve protection and they would get due protection.
There has been a spate of attacks on African nationals recently, including the killing of a Congolese youth in Delhi and the assault on a 23-year-old Nigerian student in Hyderabad. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And on to our feel-good story, where latest government data on Tuesday showed that India has cemented its position as the world's fastest-growing major economy, with the GDP for the fourth quarter of 2015-16 accelerating to 7.9%. Now, this figure takes the growth figure for the last fiscal to 7.6%. India cemented its pole position as the world's fastest-growing major economy, with March quarter gross domestic factor growth accelerating to 7.9% versus a revised 7.2% in December 2015. The impressive growth was mostly thanks to good performance by the manufacturing and farm sectors. At 7.6%, the fiscal growth was the fastest in 5 years. This growth is also in line with the official estimate and coincides with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government completing 2 years in office.
There have been 2 or 3 things very specific for it. Number one, we have introduced 2 or 3 very good initiatives which is showing results. For example, A, we have started ease of doing business. It has sent a very positive signal. B, we have decided to go for inclusive growth. So what we have done, we have started banking inclusion. That's very, very important.
The latest data is better than consensus estimates of 7.5% growth in quarter 4. GDP numbers for January to March quarter stood at 7.9% as against 7.2% in October to December. The GDP growth trumped the 6.7% growth posted by China's economy over the same period. For the 2015-16 fiscal year ending in March, growth came in at 7.6%. Real GDP or GDP at constant 2011-2012 prices for the year 2015-16 is now estimated at 113.5 lakh crore rupees. The figures released on Tuesday further cement India's reputation as a bright spot in the world economy. Having swept to powers 2 years ago, promising to revitalize Asia's third largest economy, Modi has boosted spending on defence and infrastructure, while consumer demand has risen thanks to lower interest rates.
अगर आप पिछले 2-3 साल देखें और मेन टोटल्स देखें या उनके सब कैटेगरीज देखें तो जनरली स्लो बट स्टेडी रिकवरी दिखती है.
India's growth has overtaken that of fellow Asian giant China, which grew 6.7% in the March quarter, the slowest in the world's second largest economy in 7 years. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Meanwhile, fuel prices are up again. Now, petrol prices have been hiked by 2.58 rupees per litre and diesel by 2.26 rupees per litre. Now, this is the second increase in rates this month. Petrol will now cost 65.6 rupees per litre in Delhi after the increase, while diesel will cost 53.93 rupees a litre. Prices were last hiked on 17th of May. Now, India Oil Corporation said that the current level of international product prices of petrol and diesel, as well as the rupee-dollar exchange rate, warrant an increase in the price of petrol and diesel. And the Krishi Kalyan cess of 0.5% proposed by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley during his budget speech will come into effect from today. The government proposes to collect 5,000 crore rupees during the remaining 10 months of the current fiscal. The new farm cess to be levied on all taxable services is aimed at financing and promoting initiatives to improve agriculture in the country. The service tax is levied on all services except a small negative list. Hence, restaurant bills, mobile phones, cinemas, air travel, insurance, credit and debit cards, healthcare, banking and professionals consultancies are all set to get costlier. In the 2015-16 budget, Finance Minister had raised the service tax rate from 12.36% to 14%, and from November 2015, an additional 0.5% Swachh Bharat cess had also come into force. And now with the Krishi Kalyan cess, the total service tax stands at 15%. Well, the 4-month domestic black money compliance disclosure window gets operational from today, giving an opportunity to black money holders to come clean by paying a tax and a penalty of 45% on such assets. The Central Board of Direct Taxes says that declarants under the scheme have been firewalled against regular assessments, and they will enjoy immunity from prosecution under various laws like the Wealth Tax as well as Income Tax Acts. Under the income declaration scheme, persons making disclosure of unaccounted assets will be given time up to 30th of November to pay taxes, penalties as well as the surcharge totaling 45% at the fair market value. There will also be an immunity from the Benami Transactions Act. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley had warned that people with undisclosed assets should use this declaration scheme if they want to sleep well. And wooing Japanese investors, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley promised more structural as well as market-oriented reforms, as well as stepping up infrastructure spending to accelerate economic growth beyond the current rate. He also promised to reform the tax structure to make it simpler, predictable as well as stable. Now, speaking at the Future of Asia conference organized by Nikkei Inc., he said that India has been the fastest growing major economy in the last 2 years despite global slowdown. During his meeting with global investors, the Finance Minister highlighted the second-generation reform measures undertaken by the government by way of opening up various sectors to FDI as well as making India an investor-friendly environment. The government is in the process of appointing a chief executive for the NIIF, in which 49% is held by the government and the remaining would be held by private investors. In News at 10, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more news and updates. Stay tuned.
Hemkund Sahib, sacred shrine of the Sikhs, widely acclaimed for being the highest in the world, located in the Himalayas at an altitude of 15,200 feet. The Gurudwara is designed with an image of an upside-down lotus flower.
Welcome back. On to some international news. The US has warned that the Euro 2016 Football Championship being held in France next month could be a target of militant attacks. The State Department warned its citizens of possible summer terrorist attacks in Europe, saying that targets could include the European Soccer Championship in France, although there was no specific threat information. Euro 2016 Championship is being hosted from 10th of June to 10th of July at various venues. Up to 1 million foreign fans are expected in France for the tournament, which involves the continent's top national teams. Now, concern about security in Europe has increased since the 13th of November attacks in Paris that left 130 people dead, as well as the March attacks in which 2 suicide bombers struck Brussels airport and a third in the city's metro, killing 32 people. Well, the Islamic State has launched a counter-attack as the Iraqi government troops push into the city of Fallujah. Well, the US-led coalition and Iraqi forces are battling to retake the city from the terror group. Iraqi security tried to enter the city at dawn, but scores of Islamic State fighters attacked them. The army defeated the attackers but suffered casualties. The Islamic State fighters are using suicide car bombs, RPGs and snipers to beat back the Iraqi forces. The most intense fighting is taking place in Nuamia, which is considered to be one of the last strips of land that separated Iraqi forces from Islamic State south of Fallujah. Meanwhile, aid workers are increasingly concerned for the safety of 50,000 civilians said to be trapped there. Reports speak of people starving to death and of being killed for refusing to fight for Islamic State. Meanwhile, Iraq's parliament meeting has been resumed after it was suspended for a month as the demonstrators took control of the parliament building and its surrounding areas. Parliament is now seeking support for Fallujah military operation. More international news now. Here is the World Wrap. An Italian appeals court has upheld the 16-year sentence given to the captain of Costa Concordia, which capsized in 2012, killing 32 people. Francesco Ciotino was sentenced last year after court found him guilty of manslaughter, causing a maritime accident and abandoning the ship. Now, Ciotino has not yet begun his sentence and has one final appeal to Italy's highest court. At least 23 people have been killed by airstrikes on the rebel-held city of Idlib in northwestern Syria. While Syrian Observatory for Human Rights and Turkey blamed Russia for the strike, Russia has denied any involvement. Idlib province are a stronghold of the Nusra Front, which is excluded from a partial cessation of hostilities brokered by the US and Russia in the month of February. Islamic State has urged Muslims to destroy their satellite TV sets to prevent hostile channels destroying their beliefs and polluting their ethics. The ultra-hardline Sunni group issued its call as military pressure increased against it, with offensives targeting its strongholds in Raqqa, Syria and Fallujah, west of Baghdad as well. However, Islamic State did not say whether it would enforce its appeal in the territory under its control in Syria and Iraq. The United States on Tuesday condemned an attempted missile launch by North Korea and urged Pyongyang to refrain from actions that create tensions in northeastern Asia. Meanwhile, after the failed launch, a senior North Korean official arrived in Beijing on Tuesday for talks reportedly to discuss the recent Workers' Party Congress in Pyongyang. Ties between North Korea and China are close but have eroded recently because of North's nuclear weapons program. Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on Tuesday underwent open heart surgery in London, which his party has said was successful. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had wished Sharif a speedy recovery. Besides Modi, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Afghan President Ashraf Ghani were among several world leaders who wished Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif ahead of his surgery. On to some sporting action. Well, fans spent more time looking at the murky Parisian sky than watching tennis, as French Open organizers were accused of not caring about the players after the event was disrupted by more rain on Tuesday. The inability to play under cover proved costly for top women seeds Agnieszka Radwanska and Simona Halep, fourth-round losers in the only two matches that were completed on day 10.
Fans were left wet and miserable at a soggy Roland Garros on Tuesday, but not as drenched or depressed as Agnieszka Radwanska after the world number 2's French Open hopes fizzled out following a monumental meltdown against Svetlana Pironkova. Second-seeded Radwanska led 102nd ranked Svetlana Pironkova 6-2, 3-0 when play was halted on Sunday. Pironkova turned the tables on Tuesday and completed a 2-6, 6-3, 6-3 victory.
Obviously, I thought a lot about the match because, the score was set in 3-love, but it was actually a tight match. Because it's strange, but I feel very good. So obviously, the time came, and right now I show that actually I'm feeling in a good form.
Radwanska was not the only favourite whose play was bogged down. Six-seeded Simona Halep led Samantha Stosur 3-5 in the first set when play was stopped on Sunday. But Stosur returned Tuesday with newfound purpose and poise. In soppy conditions on court 1, Stosur quickly gained the upper hand, beating Halep 7-6, 6-3. Stosur, a finalist here in 2010, was beaten badly by Halep 3 weeks ago in the semi-finals at Madrid in less than an hour.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty equal to that. Obviously, two different opponents, and one's looks like a lot easier score than the other. But yeah, these two matches back to back for me are fantastic. So to be able to do it over a long period of time, and obviously today's match taking a long time to finish. That it's just, I feel like I'm playing really well and I'm really clear and nothing, the rain and all that, it is what it is. I'm not letting it get to me, and you take your chances when you get them.
In the men's draw, world number 1 Novak Djokovic led Roberto Bautista 3-6, 6-4, 4-1 when play was halted. He faces the possibility of playing on 4 straight days heading into the final weekend. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
More sports news now. Here is the sports beat. Saina Nehwal began her women's singles campaign at the $9 lakh Indonesian Super Series Premier Badminton Tournament on a positive note after claiming a hard-fought opening round win against a lower-ranked Pai Yu Po of Chinese Taipei on Tuesday. World number 8, Saina Nehwal, aiming for her 4th Indonesia Super Series title, won the match 21-11, 19-21, 21-15 to progress through to the second round, where she is scheduled to face the 17-year-old Fitriani of Indonesia on Wednesday. Barcelona's 5-time World Player of the Year, Lionel Messi, went on trial on Tuesday along with his father on accusations of defrauding the Spanish state of €4.1 million. The Argentina playmaker is facing a prison sentence of nearly 2 years on charges he failed to properly pay taxes for part of his earnings from Barcelona from 2007 to 2009. The tax trial got underway with Messi deciding not to appear in court for early proceedings. James Anderson has overtaken his England pace partner Stuart Broad to climb to the top of the ICC rankings for Test bowling. The 33-year-old climbed to the top of the rankings for the first time in his career thanks to his performances against Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, England's Joe Root remains second in the ICC's batting rankings behind Australian captain Steve Smith.
Edged.
England's Chris Wood came from 3 shots down to win the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth. The 28-year-old Englishman equalled compatriot Danny Willett's tournament record outward half of 29 set earlier in the week as he reeled off birdies at the 1st, 5th, 7th and the 9th and an eagle 3 at the 4th. "43-year-old Paulo Fonseca has been appointed as the new coach of Ukrainian club Shakhtar Donetsk. Fonseca replaces longtime Shakhtar boss Mirza Luceiliu, who won the UEFA Cup and 8 domestic titles during 12 years with the club before moving to Zenit St. Petersburg earlier this month. That's all in this edition of news. Thanks for watching.